What's good, gamers? This is your boy Stonky Kong 64, and we are back with another tech deck video. Today's video, we are talking about my personal build of Thrasios and Vile Smasher, which I coined Vile Thrasher. I don't know if anybody else coined that name, but I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say I made it up, and I'm gonna copyright that. I'm not really gonna copyright it. It's like an imaginary copyright. But today we're going to be talking about my build, how I built it, and yeah, the tech decks, the win outlets, the combos, and what you really want to go for, and the value you want with the deck. So if you want to make your whole play group angry and not want to play with you anymore, stay tuned and watch the video. Let's get it.
Sitting in my room thinking, is it almost over? Will I die young or...
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, first up we have Thrasios, the Triton Hero. Legendary Merfolk Wizard, 2-drop, 1/3 for 4 mana. Scry 1 to reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, draw a card. Obviously, it has partner. The second commander, we have Vile Smasher the Fierce, 2/3 Legendary Goblin Berserker, 3-drop. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, choose an opponent at random. Vile Smasher the Fierce deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to that player or planeswalker that player controls. So pretty much, you want to use the blue and the green from Thrasios to control the game. And you want to use the red and the black from Vile Smasher to deal your opponents a bunch of damage. Thrasios itself is a great value engine. You ramp, you draw cards. Vile Smasher, it's random, so you can't choose your opponent, but that makes it more fun, so people can be a little less mad at you. We have quick reactionary spells, we have fat things to deal tons of damage. It's an overall fun deck. I'm gonna break this down in a couple parts. We're gonna go lands, and then we're gonna go the mana ramp, which is the whole mana base, which is 50% of the deck. And then we're going to go to creatures, artifacts, planeswalkers, and so on and so on. So, yeah, let's get started with the lands, and we can see how I did it there. Alright, if anybody knows me, they know most of my decks are 35 lands flat. So here, as far as the basics go, we have 4 swamps, 4 forests, 4 islands, 3 mountains. Forest is the most important color of the deck. Any deck that has green in it, forest is the most important land because that's going to get you the ramp to get the other land cards. And then we have 4 swamps, 4 islands. Those are pretty prominent colors in the deck. And we have 3 mountains. We have dual lands and other stuff to make up for only have 3 mountains, but this balance works pretty good. We have one colorless land, Reliquary Tower. We are going to have a lot of cards in our hand, so that card is a must. And then we have the Scoldering Tarns, Misty Rainforests, Arid Mesas, and Fabled Passages, because we want to cycle through our deck as fast as possible and get as much lands as fast as possible. So these lands are pretty good for that. Next, we have our big boy lands. We have 2 Triomes. We have the Tamer one, and we have the Jund one. You know, those are very good typings, so we can tutor them with our Arid Mesas, Misty Rainforests, things like that. We have an Overgrown Tomb, which is the same thing, an Overgrowth Stadium. It's not a type land, but it's still a good value land. We have a Blood Crypt and a Smoldering Marsh, which are both typed to help us tutor. We have a Cinder Glade, Stomping Ground, same thing. They help us tutor. We have a Drowned Catacombs and a Sunken Hollow. The Sunken Hollow also helps with the tutoring. Thundering Falls, Frostboil Snarl. Same thing with the Thundering Falls. It helps us with the tutoring. And then we have a Hedge Maze and a Rejuvenating Springs. Same thing with the Hedge Maze. It helps us with the tutorings. And we have a Command Tower. There are a lot better lands. You can put your breeding pools and stuff like that. I just always like to reiterate, these are just cards that I have on hand. And these are cards that aren't in like other decks. So it's just how, it's how I built it. You can upgrade the lands, but these lands are pretty good. Alright, let's go to the land ramp. All right, kind of same thing with the lands. I'm kind of stuck in my ways when it comes to the ramp. I usually like to do 15, so that way I have 35 lands, 15 ramp, and my whole deck is 50% lands and ramp. All right, so for our one drops, we have Elvish Mystic, Birds of Paradise, Soul Ring, Wafer's Bauble, and Ignoble High Art. I feel like none of these cards really need to be explained. These are all great, amazing one drop land ramps. Soul Ring, best card in Commander. Don't at me, or you can at me. Actually, at me. But yeah, and then for our two drops, we have Rampant Grope, 3 visits, helps with getting type lands. Arcane Signet, Farseek, helps with getting type lands. Thought Vessel, another one of those things because we like having cards in our hand. Chromatic Lantern to start off our 3 drops to fix our mana. Kadamo's Reach cultivates. Classics, Beanstalk Giant, which is hilarious in this deck because it's a land ramp and you could cast it for a 7 drop to deal extra damage with Vile Smasher. So, that's a little plus. And then we have Shard Convergence, which helps us get most of our type lands. These go without saying. If you want to upgrade your mana ramp, you can, but in my opinion, these are all pretty good for this deck. Yeah, so that's 50% of our deck right there. And next, let's go on to our non-ramp creatures. All right, so there's not going to be many creatures in the deck, but the creatures that are in the deck, they're going to hit hard because they do a specific function that helps the deck run better. So first, we have Agatha of the Vile Cauldron. Activated abilities of creatures cost X less, where X is her power. So it's all about Thrasios. We want to pay as little for Thrasios as possible. If we can make Thrasios' ability cost 1, we're doing a great job. And then we have Biomancer's Familiar, which does the same thing. It reduces activated abilities of creatures by 2. We have Dryad of the Elysian Grove. It fixes our mana and gives us more land drops. Azusa gives us the extra land drops. We have Kest, Ascendant Mage. A lot of those fat instants and sorcery spells, we want to cast those a second time to deal more damage with Vile Smasher. We have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. You guessed it. We want to copy Vile Smasher to deal even more damage. We have Stormkill Artist. When we cast our instants or sorceries or copy them, we make treasures. I'll tell you why that's going to come into importance later. And then we have Tatiova, the druid. Yeah, that's it. Whatever. We have Tatiova. So when we have Thrasios out, we don't have to choose between the land or the drawing with Thrasios' ability. We can choose the land and we can still draw a card when that land enters. We have Seaborn Muse, probably the most powerful card in this deck. Each turn, you get to untap all your permanents and do Thrasios' ability on everybody else's turn and hold your mana up for counter spells and reactionary spells. Best card in this deck, hands down. This card has to be in this deck. And then we have Sphinx of the Second Sun, which costs 8 mana, which is a plus. It gives you an extra upkeep and untaps your lands, and you can deal fat damage with it. Untapping your lands is huge in this deck. It's kind of a pet card of mine in this deck, and I think it's a very good addition, especially because when you cast it, you deal 8 damage with Vile Smasher. All right, let's go on to the Planeswalkers. Literally just one Planeswalker in the deck, Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. This card is just simply a win con. I'll tell you how you're going to win with it at the end, but that's the reason why it's in it. It's just a win con. That's it and that's all. All right, let's move on to the enchantments now. All right, starting off with the enchantments, more things to reduce Thrasios' ability. We have a Training Grounds, reduce that activated ability by 2. We have an Exploration, more extra land drops. Sylvan Library, we have card draw. Everybody's favorite card, Ristic Study. More card draw. And then we have Wilderness Reclamation, a Seedborn Muse-esque effect that helps us untap our lands at least one time at the end of our turn, so we can do Thrasios' ability, hold up reactionary spells, so forth and so forth. Leyline of Anticipation. If we're constantly untapping our lands on other people's turns, Leyline is good because not only can we cast instants, we can now cast sorceries and other things to kind of thwart your opponent if you don't want to do Thrasios' ability with all your untapped mana. Shark Typhoon, I believe I counted, and there's like 50 non-creature, non-land permanents in instance of sorceries. So we'll make a lot of little shark tornadoes, whatever, with a Shark Typhoon and Zendikar Resurgent. Everybody's favorite big boy, double mana. Helps us draw cards, gives us double mana, deals fat damage on cast. That pretty much goes without saying. We have our card draws, we have our utilities, we just have overall good enchantments that goes with the theme of the deck. Alright, let's go on and move to instants. Alright, moving on to the instants. The first one, we have Vela Summers. Nice little protection spell. Let's say you're trying to win, and somebody's trying to thwart that. You have a Vela Summers to thwart them, thwarting you. And then we have Mystical Tutor. Everybody loves a good Mystical Tutor. Tutor's instants of sorcery to your top of your library. Something that's really going to mess your opponents up or protect you. Heroic Intervention. Another protection spell. We have Cyclonic Rift. The best blue board wipe in the game. Void Slime. Void Slime and Disallow do the same exact thing. Counter target spell or activated or triggered abilities. Nice little Swiss Army knife counter spell. Fierce Guardianship. It may only counter non-creature spells, but with this deck, it'll almost be free every single time. Beast Within, one of the best pieces of single removal in the game, can remove any permanent. Capsize, a nice little bounce spell to bounce opponent's permanents. It has buyback, and I'm going to tell you why this card is important later on down the road. Chaos Warp, a nice good of permanent removal. We have Filter Out. This is a card that I'm trying out. Return all non-creature, non-land permanents to the owner's hands. It's the instant speed. It's 3 drops. You got to do it too, but I think it could be good. We have Plasma Catcher. Not Plasma Catcher, Plasm Catcher. You counter target spell. Whatever that spell's mana cost is, you take that. You add that to your mana pool on your next upkeep, on your next main phase. And then you can use that to perpetuate Thrasios. Then we have Spell Swindle, a card I don't necessarily like, but it's the same thing. It's a fat spell. It's 5 damage to the face. Counter target spell. You make treasures equal to its mana cost, and it helps perpetuate Thrasios. And then we have Silingmore's Command, a card that I actually don't like that much, but it's a Swiss Army knife. It could counter spells. It could bounce things. It's an instant. That's 5 damage to the face because it costs 5. And I think it's a good little Swiss Army knife too. Like I said, I don't necessarily like it, but in the confines of the deck, I think it works very well. Let's move on to the big boys, the sorceries. Alright, starting off with the sorceries, we have Torment of Hellfire. Torment of Hellfire is just a game-ending card. It ends games, and it's an X drop. So depending on what X is, that's how much damage. You're also dealing with Vile Smasher, Demonic Tutor, one of the best tutors in the game. Haze of Rage, little bit of a weird, unique card, but it is part of a combo. If you don't know what that combo is, I will explain it later. Villainous Wealth, same thing as Torment of Hellfire. X drop, you can deal fat damage with Vile Smasher, and if you put enough mana into it, you can really mess up somebody by taking people's cards from their library. And then we have Aether Gale, nice little piece of removal. Bounce permanents. Casualties of War. It costs 6. That's a lot of damage. And you destroy things. Double piss people off. Blatant Thievery. Kind of an asshole card if I don't say so myself. But you'll deal 7 damage with Vile Smasher, and you'll take permanents from people. Boundless Realms. A fat ramp spell. You deal 7 damage, and you get lands. Then we have the 3 ultimatums in this color scheme. Cruel Ultimatum, Emergent Ultimatum, and Genesis Ultimatum. All 7 drops, all deal fat damage, and all do something unique and cool that will help. Cruel Ultimatum gives you stuff, messes your opponents over. Emergent Ultimatum gives you stuff. Genesis Ultimatum gives you stuff. A really good spell. And then we have Amanatu's Augury. Amanatu's Augury is an 8-drop, and it helps give you more cards to use against people. And Gurg's Wake, a one-sided board wipe. And Gurg's Wake deals, which guy will deal fat damage to somebody, 9, and wipe all your opponent's planeswalkers and creatures while leaving your own. We have Expropriate. Most of the time when you cast Expropriate, a lot of people just scoop and start the next game. It's 9 damage. You get extra turns. You may get permanents. It is a really good card. Last but not least, the very last sorcery in the very last card in this deck, Time Stretch. It's the biggest spell in the deck, 10 mana, that's 10 damage to the face with Vile Smasher. Target player takes 2 extra turns. This will make a lot of people mad for a lot of different reasons. But it's 10 damage to the face, you'll take 2 extra turns. You can't beat it. Now that we're done with all the cards, I'm going to go into the infinite combos, the win cons, and what you really want to do with the deck. The infinite mana combo is Stormkiln Artist and Haze of Rage. The most important part is this Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instance or sorcery, create a treasure token. Haze of Rage has buyback for 2. Creatures you control get 1+0 until the end of turn, and it has Storm. The ability of the card doesn't matter. The only thing that matters for Haze of Rage is the buyback and the Storm. This spell pretty much costs 4 to cast and return it to your hand. If you cast it once, Magecraft trigger goes off, you make a treasure. You cast it twice, you get a copy of you copy Haze of Rage, you make 2 treasures with Stormkin. Then you repeat that over and over again until you make infinite treasures. And then once you make infinite treasures, the world is in the palm of your hand, especially with your commander. Once you make that infinite mana, you can now use Thrasios' ability to go ahead and draw your whole deck. And then that's where Jace, Water of Mysteries comes in. If you would draw and you have no cards in your library, you win the game. Or you can make infinite mana and you can capsize and return all of your opponent's permanents to the game. Essentially, they'll just scoop because they're not even going to have lands. And if you can't find any of those spells, we have Torment of Hellfire. You can put all of your infinite mana into and essentially end the game. And Villainous Wealth, you can put all of your mana in that too, and you can take 2 people out the game because you can kill somebody with Vile Smasher and you can take another person's whole library. Essentially, they won't have any cards to even play the game anymore. And if all else fails and you can't get to that combo, there are 18 cards, 5 mana and above, equaling 123 damage. So theoretically, if you cast all of your fat spells without even going infinite, you can kill the table with Vile Smasher by just casting every single card in your library 5 mana or above. And seeing how most commander games are no more than 4 people, that'll kill everybody. So you don't even have to go infinite to win the game. You could just cast fat spells and kill people with Vile Smasher. Honestly, that's a pretty good second option. A lot of people hate Thrasios and a lot of people hate infinite combos. So if you don't want to go that route, you could just hold up your infinite and just slowly but surely kill people with Vile Smasher. And that's pretty much the deck. So this is a pretty fun deck. I love playing it. I could make this deck a little more CDH, put a little more win cons, take out some of the spells people wouldn't normally run in a CEDH, but my play group already hates the deck as is, so I don't want to make it even more win more. I want to have fun with it, and I don't always want to go infinite. Sometimes I just want to dirtle around and kill people with Vile Smasher. It all depends on how the game's going. If the game is going too long, then I'll just go infinite. But if it's not, I'll just kill people with Vile Smasher. This is pretty much the deck. If you click down on the link below, the Mox field will be linked, so you guys will be able to take a look at the deck list and build it yourself if you like. Again, I love making these videos. I'm glad for everybody who's been supporting me lately. There's been a ton of you guys. I mean, a ton of you guys commenting, subscribing, and I really appreciate it. That makes me feel like I'm doing a good job. If you guys like this content, please like and subscribe, comment, and tell me what color scheme you want to see next, because I'll most likely already have a deck in that color scheme. Yeah, you guys are the reason why I'm doing this, and I love doing it. So as long as you guys are supporting me, I'm gonna keep on doing it. Man, that's about it. Peace.
Sitting in my room thinking, is it almost over? Will I die young or